the world's largest economy, leadership positions in various organizations, country with the strongest currency in the world. You know who I'm talking about? It's the US. The country has hundreds of overseas military bases. Anything happens in the world, US is intervening. Be it the Russia-Ukraine crisis, the Middle East war, or anything else. Everyone wants to know who the US is supporting. The US Fed's decisions impact global markets as well. But this was not the case always. US was once young and vulnerable too. In 1820, it only contributed 2% to the world's GDP. So how did US become an economic superpower? And can it sustain its position? Let me explain. Let's first take you back to 1776. July 4, 1776 is when US got independence from British rule and it became a sovereign country. And the political masterminds who led the country at that time played an important role in its position now. Based on the presidential system of government, the country ensured that there is political stability at all times. Presidential system is a form of government where the president, who is elected by the people, is the chief executive. He is responsible for enforcing laws, the legislature for making them, and the courts for judging. So the president runs the entire country. With this, the decision making was really fast. Early American leaders focused on developing the young nation's economy and expanding domestic territory. It focused on getting Europe's imperial powers out of the Western Hemisphere. And well, all these things made the USA triple in size between 1783 and 1853. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson purchased Louisiana from France in a $15 million deal which doubled its territory. US used the idea of manifest destiny, which further helped the country expand its influence in the West. In 1845, US annexed Texas, which was a Mexican territory then. It led to the 1846 Mexican-American War. When the war ended in 1848, Mexico, through the Treaty of Guadalupe-Hidalgo, gave away half of its land to the US. This included Texas, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, portions of Colorado, and Wyoming. In 1867, it purchased Alaska from the Russian Empire, and in 1898, after the Spanish-American War, US took control of the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. Later, it also took control of Hawaii, and in 1902, it purchased the rights to construct in Panama Canal from a French company. In 1903, US President Theodore Roosevelt intervened in Panama and made it an independent country. It then took Panama on lease for an annual rent. This gave the US control over Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, even through the open door policy with China, which also helped US expand its trade in the Pacific region. Now, by acquiring all these places, US also gained control over major resources in these states like oil and gold. In 1848, major gold reserves were discovered in California and US became the center of economic activities, and that period was called California Gold Rush of 1848. So well, it was a big deal. Carlin Trent was also discovered in Nevada. Nevada gold mines are the largest in the world as per reports. Gold mines were also discovered in Alaska, and today US is the fourth largest country in gold production and has the highest gold reserves in the world. However, the economy took off after the Civil War when coal production rose by 800% and railway track mileage by 567%. US was already the world's largest oil producer at that time. But by the middle of 1800s, US also surpassed Britain to become the world's leading producer of manufactured goods and steel. Through the trade and right utilization of resources, US boasted the world's largest GDP per capita by 1900s. Well, that's not it. Wars made US even more stronger. As I said earlier, with Spanish-American War, it captured territories around the world, helping trade and access to gold mines and oil reserves. The tech innovations like steamboats, passenger trains, and factory machines transformed the US into an industrial hub. In World War I, US entered in 1917 after Germany sunk a US ship in Atlantic and supported Mexico. US's entry turned the tide of the war. This also helped US play a leading role in eventual peace talks. Then President Woodrow Wilson outlined an idealistic vision for the future. He laid the groundwork for the principle of self-determination, the concept that groups of people united by common characteristics should be able to determine their political future. He also proposed the League of Nations. However, he failed to secure the needed public and congressional support for the US's membership in that organization. During the Great Depression in 1929, US was more focused on its own region. However, its growing global influence made it impossible for US to stay out of global affairs. During the World War II, because demand of oil was up, US played an important role in trade and supplies. The US and Saudi at that time had reached an agreement where US was allowed to access oil supply of Saudi. In return, it was providing the region with guaranteed security. US was also involved in selling arms and machines to the countries for the war. In 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, which made US enter into the World War II. And because US's global influence was the highest, it took the lead in peace talks. It created the United Nations. Another one was the Bretton Woods Conference 1944, made to avoid a financial crisis. Here, 44 countries signed an agreement to peg their currency to the US dollar and the US dollar to be pegged to gold. This made the US dollar gain power. The Conference of 1944 also formed IMF and World Bank. Later, when Soviet Union was gaining power, fearful of Soviet Union's intentions, US and other European countries created NATO to stop Russia from invading other European countries. The US then intervened in every war that happened in the world. It was then decided that US should continue to manage global affairs. Currently, the US has over 750 overseas military bases in 80 countries. This not only made it an economic superpower, but also a global political superpower. Now the question arises, will the US always be an economic superpower? While some economists say that by the year 2100, US may drop to the third largest economy in the world and India and China might surpass it. However, some say that the strong influence that US had created in decades may not fade away easily. India and China both are still developing countries and very low GDP per capita compared to the US. US's GDP is at $27 trillion, GDP per capita is at $83.06 thousand, while China's GDP is at $18 trillion, $13.16 thousand of GDP per capita. India is much lower at $4.2 trillion in GDP and $2.85 thousand in GDP per capita. Even the difference between US and China's numbers is huge. Besides that, US also has a very strong military base and the currency still dominates others. So what is your opinion on this? Will the US stay an economic superpower? Let us know in the comments and like, share and subscribe to ET Now's YouTube channel for more such news and views.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.